Okay, hello. I have a small update. This isn't currently released, but I wanted to show it off. And I have a little prelude here, and this is for Vue.js developers, because I think we have found something pretty awesome here. Now, this is about the Overmind project, and I'm a React developer. And React has this history of innovating in state management. Like in Vue, my impression is that this has been handled kind of like by the Vue team, and they have taken inspiration from, for example, React. This is why we have Vuex, which is a direct inspiration from Redux. Now, Redux has a lot of orchestration, and so does Vuex, and unnecessarily so, where Overmind comes in. Now, the problem when Overmind was announced is that, like, as I said, I'm a React developer, so I don't know how to best integrate it with Vue, but it's so awesome to see people see the possibilities. So the Jared Wilkert created an issue, and he pointed out some, like, why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? He came up with some suggestions, and I just love this about open source. Like, go past the initial step of just things being handed to you and rather see possibilities and give feedback. So I took this feedback and I created something which I think is awesome. And the way we're going to look at this is that I have an example with Vuex, and we're going to see how this will work with Overmind instead. I haven't prepared this at all. I just have the example running. It's the counter example. And hopefully we can refactor this to Overmind with this new fix, and you will see why it's awesome. Okay, yeah, and I was supposed to show this later. Let's see here. Okay, so we have our main file, which just loads up a Vue application. I find it kind of weird that this example has some of it in the... Wasn't it? I don't know if this is like source. It doesn't matter. This is the start file. And then we have our app, which shows this message, which is perfectly fine. And then it shows the counter. And the counter is inside components. And it has the clicks, as you saw. And it imports the Vuex store. It puts that state within a computed. Like, I don't know Vuex that much, but I find this a little bit weird. And then we have the methods, where some of them does commit and some of them does dispatch. So what we're going to do now is look at this store, or maybe we should just create a new folder. We're going to create an Overmind folder instead, and let's create an index.js file. So we're going to, maybe we can just copy over what we have here. And then we can still import Vue, but we'll rather import Overmind from Overmind. Okay, and then we are going to create our config for Overmind, which also has state count 0. But instead of mutations and actions, we only have actions. So let's add how should we do this? Like we should add 3 different methods here. So let's add. And the way this works is that you get a state like this, and you also get the value, which will be the count. And then we'll just copy this code. And instead of payload, we'll say value, and we still have state count value, and then we do the same for subtract, like this, and we'll use, let's see, state and value here as well, and then we have this other one, add 3 async. Let's add that. Let's see, state value like this, and we can also bring in actions here if we want to do it like that. And this one is doing a set timeout of 3 seconds. And what this does is call an action, say actions add 3. Okay, so this is our Overmind version of this. So we can probably just remove this now. And let's instantiate Overmind. So we say new Overmind config, and let's create the plugin. Create plugin from Overmind view. So Overmind plugin will be create plugin, passing in Overmind. Okay, so now we have our plugin and we can just attach that to view. Cool. What we have to make sure of here is that we're still, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do this. We'll just export the Overmind plugin, and then in our main file, we actually import that plugin from, and this will be down to store. Oh, sorry, Overmind. And then we'll do it here instead. Okay, nice. So what we're going to do now is refactor the components. We don't even need view here, actually. What we're going to do now is, look at me doing, yes, cool. Let's see here. So we have our app, and this shouldn't change because we're just doing like top level stuff. It's not related to the actual state. But then we have the component. So what we're going to do here, first of all, we don't need to import anything. We don't need this computed thing, and we don't need these methods. So let's just do that. And then we are going to say actions add, actions add 2, actions subtract 3, and actions add 3 async. And of course, we are going to say state.count instead. Okay, let's see if this actually works now. Okay, so we have, we are getting the mouse event. Let's see, we should rather do, yeah, because we pointed, of course, to that one. So we should, of course, call it with -1. And, like that. And then add 3 async, that's perfectly okay. So, there we go. Let's try again. Add 1. Add 2, didn't work. Oh. Oh, didn't I add? Oh, sorry, of course. That doesn't exist. So we have add 2. My bad, sorry. Adding 2, subtracting 1, subtract 3, and add 3 after 3 seconds. Cool. So what you're seeing here is like the example is super simple. But the point is that there's a lot of boilerplate. What stood out to me was that you have to know if you're going to commit or dispatch. Like when you want to use the state, you have to use a computed and stuff. That seems like a lot of boilerplate. Now, what happens when you add this plugin? That's like the next question to answer. And what happens is that it adds a mixin to every single component. And that mixin exposes a state, an actions, and an effects property. And also an Overmind property. You can change this. I'm not going to go into that. But I want just to show you what it actually does. So I removed the developer tooling here, which I also want to show you because that's an important part of UX. But as you can see here, everything that happens is that when it mounts, it goes and grabs a track state tree, as it's called. It adds an update callback. It adds the Overmind property. And then with the plugin, there will always be a props callback here, which is where you can configure how you want to expose state and actions, but maybe you just want to use the default, like you saw here. And then we start tracking, and before every update, we start tracking again. That's everything. So it has a very low overhead. And the overhead is even lower when you're in production. But I told you that we're going to look at the developer tool. Let's see. npx Overmind DevTools. Sorry, I didn't prepare this. Let's see. It's firing. I'm using npx here, so it needs to download it first. Let's see. Cool. There we go. Let me have a drink first. Awesome. It's waiting for an app to connect. And there we have our app. We see the state. And when I start clicking these things, we have actions. So you can see all the action executions, what we passed in, and all that good stuff. Now, and if you haven't seen these dev tools before, like this dev tool actually shows you all the side effects and everything. Again, this is a super simple example, but the point is that you get all your state, you get all your actions, and when looking at components, you also see the updates themselves. You should also see, yes, the count here. Cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you this. I think this can be something truly special because this has been my dream all along with React. I just want to have my application state at the top and I want my components to use it. I don't want to think about connecting all of this and making sure that when I pass state to child components, I have to make sure that I'm tracking and all that stuff. What I don't like here right now is that it doesn't handle TypeScript. But I'm super excited for Vue 3.0, which will have better TypeScript support. And if it works the way I hope, I'm seriously moving to Vue. I don't see any reason to keep React for typical applications. Like React can do some pretty amazing things. I worked on projects that React was the only way to do the things we wanted to do. But like for traditional application development, this is super, super smooth. Okay, I hope you liked it. I'm still waiting for some feedback on this feature, but it will be part of the next release. Cool, thanks.